You're now live.
Thanks for joining our June 2026 edition of our Kentucky K-12 CIO and EdTech Leaders Webcast. I'm David Couch with the Department of Education. This is something that we do monthly for all of our districts, all of our Office of Education Technology staff, and all of our partners that help us be successful throughout the school year. And the partners are private and public organizations. So thanks for joining us this morning. And prior to the meeting, I sent out the agenda, which we intend to go right down that list, and also a copy of and summary of last month's webcast, which Lisa Moore, thank you for putting that together for us. And I had some fun things in there. I added some pictures along with some stats that we covered last month, but from some pictures from our visits to the district. So the state championship team, the project state championship teams, we had an opportunity to go visit all four of those during the break, and I shared some pictures of those four, along with some others in here that are fun to share, along with some summary and highlights of last month. So I hope you check that out. But thanks for joining us this morning. We also will be having some poll questions for you to respond to. Encourage you to give us that feedback. There's a couple of items here that are hot items that can't wait to the beginning of the school year to get your feedback on. I do realize a lot of folks are traveling and taking vacation time during this time, which is a good thing. I encourage that. I just came back from one of those, so that's a good thing. Marty, you're getting ready to go on one of those here soon, so that's a good thing. But we do need your attention to a couple of these, and we appreciate any of the feedback that you give to us on the poll questions that we'll be sharing with you here soon. First up is, do we have Mike Lettingham here on?
I'm here.
I'll let him join in. Anything wants to share about this announcement that I saw on June 4th from the FCC? Mike?
Yeah, I'll give a little background. Everybody kind of knows, the E-rate program for many, many years has been a big contributor to what we do with the CATCH program overall from a funding standpoint. We usually project anywhere from $20 to $35 million impact to the districts directly annually from the federal E-rate program. And then there's the state funds that we get back through the all of the internet connections that we provide for and pay for on behalf of all the districts. And those funds that come in contribute toward state services that are on behalf of all school districts, as well as the offers of assistance that is provided to the district. So again, everybody, I'm confident, and if you're not, get up to speed and be confident about understanding the impact of the federal E-rate program on the CATCH program throughout the past years and still standing today. So earlier this month, the FCC announced the intent to do a proposed rulemaking, which they've done, before and multiple times throughout the life of this program. And there's a whole host of things that would be a part of consideration as part of that proposed rulemaking. And we'll share out some more details as we capture them as far as all the things. But I want to say that any and everything associated to the federal E-rate program, I think, is up for discussion and consideration as part of this proposed rulemaking. If the FCC adopts to move forward with the proposed rulemaking, which they, I think, are scheduled to do on the 25th of this month during a meeting they have. So June 25th is a date that we will pay attention to. I think that's the date by which the FCC has to, either accept or, approve to move forward with this proposed rulemaking. If they do move forward with the proposed rulemaking, there will be a window of time by which comments can be provided. I think it's 60 days for input and comments to be provided, of which we will look at providing comments on behalf of the state as a whole, and on behalf of the CATCH program as a whole, and of which districts can individually provide comment as well. And we'll again share more information on about how to watch that and go about doing that. And then after that 60-day window, there would be a 30-day reply time period by which replies would be made to the comments that were captured during that 60-day. I think I've got that all pretty close to accurate as far as the way that'll play out. Again, we'll we'll kind of share out kind of a summary of how this all will move forward. Obviously, it's a big deal. Again, I think I would just describe it as any and everything is on the table to be discussed. The integrity of the program is to be discussed. The discount rates are to be, the discounts and eligibility are on the table to be discussed. The focus on the focus on education and in the intent of the use of funds to contribute toward educational purposes is on the table to be discussed. Obviously, I think most anybody that pays attention to anything going on at the national level knows that the whole conversation around screen time is a driving factor behind some of these interest in this program being reviewed. Our hope is that they don't overreact and severely do something to this program just to try to get some things in better alignment, better control. I would point out, as somebody who's been a participant in working with the E-rate program since its initial inception, there's always room for things to be continuously improved on and better managed and monitored and so forth. I think in Kentucky, with all our school districts and with the KETS program overall, we've done a really good job at maximizing the program, but not abusing the program. And I think that's a big deal. I do think there's always been areas where the program's been abused. And I think there's always areas where the intent of the program has not always been followed appropriately at a national level. And those things always continuously have to be looked at. But what we got to hope for is that we don't have an overreaction for multiple reasons on how this program may have some adjustments made to it. So again, it can go from 0 to 100 as far as I'm concerned on what's on the table right now. It could be that it's like, hey, we don't need to spend much time beating this program up. We feel like things are pretty solid and we, may make some tweaks. We may make some improvements. Again, always a good thing to continuously do. But there is the possibility of, again, what we'll describe as some overreaction, overcorrection, whatever words you want to use. And you have the whole possibility of just somebody, as I say somebody, a group of people just saying we just need to dismantle the whole thing. Because sometimes the approach people will take is let's just dismantle the whole thing and then we can restart whatever else we want to take its place, which that's never a pleasant process to go through. And it has negative consequences on any dependencies on it. Again, I'll go back to my original statement. We got multiple millions of dollars that impact the KETS program from the federal E-rate program, and anything that has an impact on those dollar amounts flowing into the program, it will have major impact. And obviously could be what I would call catastrophic if it would just be completely dismantled. So anyway, we want to share that. We'll share out more details about how to pay attention to it. We'll keep you all advised of what we observe and learn and what we know is factual and what we know is, just kind of the discussion. There's a whole lot of different people with a whole lot of different opinions. If you go out and look, you'll see all kinds of different people with different opinions about what's happening, what's going to happen, and all of that. None of that's factual, at this point, outside of the FCC has identified the intent to do a proposed rulemaking. And later this month, my understanding is they will make a decision on whether they move forward with acting on that proposed rulemaking, which again will enact a period of time for comment and replies and then their actions on that. So that's kind of my overview of it. David, anything you want to add or any comments by anybody or any questions?
Thank you, Mike. I think it broke down in pretty good chunks. I think I'll start with the part I saw there was streamlined administration, and there's some things I think would be beneficial as far as the timing to turn things in and help on some of the forms. So I thought that was a good part. There's a part definitely they're targeting. Apparently there may be abuse. You can't tell with things is it 99% broke or 1% broke with what I call E-rate consultants. As you can see, they're targeting that. The thing that got my concern is the wording program necessity review. That means total wipeout. And that's what Mike was talking about. It would be a just absolute financial devastating blow to education technology, just not in Kentucky, but across the country, if that were to occur. And Marty's going to hit with this in some of the next theme about the student technology standards. The screen time issue is a major. It's just a major type of thing. And I know you may look at your role in the district and say, well, that's not my thing. I would say, just like on the money side, you need to start involving yourself in those discussions, and setting proper proportion. What folks see people using their smartphones after work hours and at the home is not the same as what's happening in the classroom. There is definitely, you're seeing proper use and the proper proportion for 99% of the time in school systems, and they're not sitting there with students with their head in their phone and their head on a screen for 99% of their school time. And that's the perception. It's a major perception that we're going to have to deal with addressing this. And shutting off all the internet across the board is not the way to address that. So that's the wording that concerned me the most of it. Those two combined, a lot, with this momentum that's going on. So, Marty, this is a nice lead in to our updated school, student technology standards. This is something that we were in the process of doing anyway, but may get even more attention now with the topic of screen time. So.
Yeah, they definitely are playing into each other, and I think, David, as we discussed yesterday, I think that we're primed and ready to encourage these conversations. We want to be a part of them, and we want to use what we know is good from an education technology perspective to help drive the narrative. And if what we would like to just nudge on today is, if you find that these conversations are happening, as Mike talked about and David talked about, the overcorrection, the counterbalance, if you will, or the backlash of what's going on beyond our school campuses. We have in Kentucky, and we get the opportunity to work with other states quite a bit, and we have the foundations in place to really be able to lead this conversation in the right way. So we encourage you to be a part of the conversation. David, as we talk about the revision to the Kentucky Academic Standards for Technology, we also wanted to mention today and share that last week we had the opportunity to be with superintendents at the KASS event, the summer event. There was a lot of conversations about artificial intelligence, but we were able to nudge on and share to superintendents that we're going to be publishing a conversation piece about screen time that we think is important for Kentucky. We're going to include that in our CATS master plan research components, and that's going to help you position this conversation well. We believe, working in partnership with U.S. school district leaders, that we have one voice here, and so the academic standards for technology play into that. The timing is right for us. Of course, legislative requirements for academic standards requires a 6-year revision. So we're very thankful Laura Raganos led this effort for us. And in the agenda, you'll note that we are presenting to the local Superintendent's Advisory Council the revision to these academic standards on the 28th of July, which leads into the Kentucky Board of Education meeting, where our board members will review for the first time our academic standards for technology on August 5th and 6th. And so that's the kind of timing. And David, if it's okay, I'm going to share my screen just to. This is cool because I can see on your screen that my screen is sharing. I don't have to ask. And I did want to point out again, thanks to Laura Raganos and all those who volunteered to be a part of this revision work, and the writers, the writing team that came together worked diligently through this process. Won't go through the full timeline, but it started obviously a year ago or so. And we've gone through the full process, and we like to take this process through just as our academic standards for reading and writing, our academic standards for mathematics, all of the other standards areas, we're following the same exact process. And that's important to us for a lot of reasons. We want to make sure that we're pulling in all of the feedback on where these standards sit. Now, the last go round, the current standards that are on the books, if you will, That was a major revision. And what we knew for this time through this process is that we would have, minor revisions, if you will. The writing team, the feedback that we got led towards that. The vision for the writers, that was the very first thing that the writing team went through to make sure that everyone was aligned, that we had clear cross-curricular connections. These are embedded academic standards. So you should see these student demonstrated standards in all other content areas. And so they wanted to establish a continuum of the technology competencies K through 12 that are to be demonstrated. So these are the things that students should know and be able to do. This set of standards is referred to as a required set, but that's really, and David, we wanted to point this out today, that's really tied to the minimum graduation requirement for high school students. And so if you want to think about required for high school students, that makes a ton of sense. For elementary and middle school, certainly every school and every district has the opportunity to work through how students are engaged to demonstrate these academic standards. The architecture stayed largely the same, which is great for us. The writing team felt like we had a good structure last time, but essentially the academic standards identified a grade band, they identified a concept, and by the way, that these concepts are aligned internationally with the ISTE standards set. And so empowered learner, digital citizen, knowledge constructor, innovative designer, computational thinker, creative communicator, and global collaborator are those concept areas that the writing team ensured that the standards, the learning priorities, and the performance indicators were fit nicely into. And so we're not going to go, David, I promise not to go super into detail here. But if you were to ask me what the writing team really keyed in on with the advancement of and enhancement of these academic standards, you're definitely going to see artificial intelligence play through explicitly attached to performance indicators and learning priorities. The writing team did an excellent job of ensuring that from every concept area, we're including emerging technologies through that space. That's one of the things that we know with academic standards is technology changes so fast. As we've continued this in partnership with you and our districts, like we've identified this over and over again. As the technology changes so fast and only addressing the standards per required legislatively every 6 years, we want to make sure that these standards live throughout that process. And so artificial intelligence is included explicitly. I think over 40 times you're going to see AI make an appearance in the learning priorities and performance indicators, which was what we were hoping for that the writing team would see. But the writing team did an excellent job, David. And just as a kind of a snapshot, this is what will be in the LSAC, the local superintendent's advisory, and the Kentucky Board of Education. These are our academic standards that will go forward. And I wanted to just kind of share as chunked in grade level. So primary K through 2 is a grade level grade band chunk. And then we'll have 3 through 5, and then 6 through 8, and then 9 through 12. So those grade bands will live throughout. And the concept areas run through, and I'm just kind of scrolling through just to get an idea. This should be pretty comfortable for anyone who's engaged with the academic standards in the past. So we wanted to present that today, get feedback. We'll include this in the packet for your additional feedback as education technology leaders. We see these standards as super important. Now, of course, we're in the revision process and wrapping that through the Kentucky Board of Education in August for academic standards for technology, but also being worked on right now are the academic standards for computer science and the academic standards for library media. We'll continue to keep you up to date there. We would ask, do not underestimate the value of these academic standards as it relates to this opportunity and access conversation with the FCC, as Mike and David shared, as it aligns to the concerns that your community may have about screen time. And again, largely what we know is that these concerns about the quantity of time that our students and adults, by the way, are engaged with screen time off campus, that largely is entertainment based, passive, kind of social media consumption concerns. They're real. We want to take a balanced approach to that. But what we see through these academic standards are that is not what is going on in our schools. That is not when, in fact, our schools are the only place where students are not just required, it's not a checkbox, but you're doing an awesome job of ensuring through classroom, through teacher interaction, that responsible uses of these technologies are being learned and are being demonstrated by our students. Our schools are the only place where that's happening. If we were to go to a world where we do not engage with the ideas inside of these academic standards, then where are our students going to learn these skills? Because we know it's not happening beyond school campus. And so that's important for us. That's a part of the conversation. We have a big time connection, David, last statement here, big time connection with our academic standards, with the desires to understand screen time. We're focused on quality, not quantity. That is the right way to frame it, along with opportunity and access through the internet and services like the FCC's E-rate program. These things are all connected. They're not separate, and we need to bring them together and help people have that conversation in a smart way. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Marty. I'll take it back to when we first started. I think the average parent, and I'm just going to go back even 2 or 3 decades, and being a parent of 4 children, of course you're a parent of 5, you want to make sure they're skilled when they graduate from high school. And so we don't wait till their senior year to teach them how to read.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
There was a building block, and every skill set you have, whether it's academic or whether it's athletic, there's a building block of skills. So you don't wait till the last second. And so there is a state law about students' proficiency in technology when they graduate, but that's not something you all jam in a senior year. So the intent of this was a lot of guidance, and obviously districts can do it in a lot of different ways of how to do those building blocks throughout the time in their elementary, middle school, and high school years. But I think one of the folks that you gotta help folks out with is, are we getting them prepared skill-wise, technology literacy and fluency and their creation skills once they graduate? Because definitely that's going to be part of a very high percentage of their work life. So remind folks of that, those that want to totally wipe it out and go back to paper and pencil for everything for all grade levels. Say, well, maybe when they're senior, we'll game them all up. And it really doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
I think the other part that's really playing into this, and I'm going to go back to what I mentioned with Mike, is just the proper use of these technology tools and the proper proportion in the school setting. There is, the thing always bothers me is the 1% folks that grab something and present it as 99% broke and whip all people up into, high drama situations. I think the part the school systems can help out is setting up the proper proportion of how much are these tools really being used. The average stats that I take a look at is about 15% of the school day is using a technology tool by the students. It's not 100%. And the difference is, in a school setting, their head is not stuck down on a screen 100% of the time, as it is a lot of times when they're out of the school setting. I think that's a big difference that you got to bring to light, is the difference of the proportion of used. And as you're saying, the digital citizenship part, the proper place that they're going. Now, I think the part that'll have to be worked on, you're talking about the entertainment sites versus the academic ones. That's always been a struggle.
Yeah.
And you see, I think it's a low percentage of teachers saying students can go do the following when you get done with your work.
Free time.
Your free time. And it can set the proportion, as I think they should be able to do the following if it's academically related, but just not go anywhere. Like go to a YouTube site and be doing just anything they want that's not academically related. So I think there's that balance, and it can show and give people the improper proportion with a small percentage of folks doing that type of thing. So it's a real thing.
And David, I think a great opportunity for us across our state. Again, we're blessed to be in a state that has structures that we have. We have statewide opportunity with our partners. We know that our partners are helping us work on this right now. A partner, I'll just, Zayo Education, our partner in internet access, helps us know what's being used and not used, right? So that's a part of the conversation. If people want to really dig into understanding at the school and district level, but also a partner like GoGuardian is working on tooling that all of our districts are going to have access to help
In their core product.
inside the core product.
Not an optional
that's going to
product.
help with this conversation, because what we don't want is we don't want folks to guess or assume what is happening when that's not the case. That's not the fact. So we want to use actual metrics. We want to use actual so that we can have intelligent conversations. And we're situating ourselves as a state to be able to do that. And as a district EdTech leader, you're going to be able to have a really smart conversation about this. And that's very helpful. Not everyone is situated like that across the country, but here in Kentucky, we are. You're situated to point to the academic standards, to point to the actual metrics of what's going on. You're going to be able to lean on the digital learning guidelines that we've used here in Kentucky, that we've published here at KDE for over a decade, to say, here's what high quality usage and responsible, safe, secure, and responsible uses of these technologies are. And so it's a one voice kind of moment for us again.
I think the part of it is, and I'll close in some of these comments, is our master plan, and this will go back to even the 90s, of districts, and any organization needs to revisit how much you're using something and is it really making a difference. And this can be administratively, it can be instructionally. So I think there's a part of reevaluating these tools that really making an educational difference for this thing you're investing in. And take a look at that every year, because that can give a bad name for it. So how much is it being used, and what is it being used for? We anticipate the upcoming legislative session, this being presented legislative session by the department to educate the legislators on this topic. Kind of reminds you of the AI, but it could be a bigger wave than the AI. Making sure the legislators are educated on it before coming up legislation that says, let's reduce this down to an hour a day or 30 minutes a day for a student. So trying to get ahead of them. I know for our Kentucky Board of Education presentation on the 5th and 6th, we have the option. We have a couple items, that we'll hit on those next month, more so as the KET's operational budget. That you have the choice, and I'm sure with your local board, some of these, there's a consent agenda and there's a discussion agenda. This is one of the topics that we're going to want to discuss with the board, to educate them on the whole screen time thing, along with what we've done to update the technology standards. So we've had a couple of poll questions. So if you could respond to those, be interested in seeing your response. There's 2 questions that we have regarding the screen time use. Let's see here.
David, if I could, so these poll questions are going to come up. We have 2. So after you answer the first one, you'll see the second one. And calling a little bit of an audible in the chat. As I mentioned, we're going to develop and publish inside of our KETS master plan a really succinct, focus on brevity, but a strong point kind of document that is hopefully, that we think it will be helpful for you as education technology leaders and school district leaders to help push this conversation forward in your school district. In the chat, if you think that would be helpful, I should have asked the full question, but if you think that would be helpful, just drop that in the chat, that yes, that would be helpful to you. So Dave, we've got 34 responses on one question and 33 on another. Those are growing. And so we'll keep watching those as they come in.
That's helpful to see the tape. Obviously, when we do the summary notes, we take a snapshot of this. And by the way, I send this also to our, whatever we do in our summary, in the highlights of our webcast, I sent it to all the KD leadership team, along with the ability to join it as well through our KD media portal, not necessarily the Teams channel. And there may be some doing it that way, but I try to keep them informed of things like this. And I think this would be very helpful feedback for Commissioner Fletcher to see, for Chief Academic Officers to see, and some other folks here in KDE. So please take part of your time and respond to these. It's very helpful in educating us and educating everyone else watching this. This is going to be a big topic that we're going to have to stay on top of to educate people appropriately.
I gotta say, as we're wrapping this agenda item up, very excited to see that you feel that your district is confident and steadfast, and your decisions wrapped around your planning, wrapped around effective, safe, responsible usage for your students. That's awesome to see. That's great feedback.
Yeah. Thank you. Next up is our connected user experience system implementation queues. Chuck Austin and anybody on Chuck's team wanted to have you update us. And I asked you yesterday during our KD OET leadership team meeting to share some of the things that I did on a weekly basis to keep me up to date. But there's some big successes that we have. We've got a ways to go, but we have some really hit some historical mile markers that indicate we're well along our way and doing well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, David. So for any of our folks that maybe you're tuning in for the first time, I know it's June. I know we've got turnover of new folks that are going to start in July, may have started early and joined one of our monthly webcasts. So, you know, our CUES initiative, our Connected User Experience System, is really a program to implement a modern identity and access management solution to take the place of a legacy approach that we've had in every district since 2003. So a lot of the activities, a lot of the work we've been doing for the last 2 years, and I will always pause to applaud the effort that we see in our EdTech community from a leadership perspective as we've traversed this journey. So, you know, last month we talked a little bit, David, about how we've been talking for a long time. There's 3 major components of CUES, okay, from a technology perspective. There's the implementation of rapid identity, which is specifically identity and access management. All right. There's the implementation of a new solution for network services or IP services, which we're doing with a product called InfoBlocks. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then ultimately down to the decommissioning of on-premise Active Directory and all of its related services. I think that's really important. And all of the related services is something that for the last couple of months, we've been really focused hard on, especially this summer that I will always call the summer of 2026. You know, I had a great opportunity just a week ago to spend time down in Region 5 at one of their collaborative community Active Directory decommission planning sessions. And Region 4 and Region 5 were in attendance. Great conversation, but we spent some time, and I'm going to spend some time today real quickly. First of all, going over what we call the Big Four. And it's the Big Four with some really important deadlines that we've been really beating the drum on at the local level. We've been talking about for a couple of years. I just want to go over those one more time before I lead into some very specific stats about how we're doing with each of these 3 initiatives. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'm just going to pull up. And Marty, since I can't see David's screen, give me a thumbs up that you can see that I'm sharing. Very good, very good, very good. So a couple of things that we decided, you know what, with all that we've got going on at the local level, at the state level, let's zero in on some things that really need to be addressed in the next 2.5, 3 months. And I'm just going to talk about some of these real quick to make sure that everybody's got them on their radar. We're also communicating with your superintendents to make sure you've got the support you need to get some of these things completed because they're critical. They're super critical. So number one, I think everybody realizes June 30th, we're going to start decommissioning or retiring our state shared service for Trellix. Okay, I think that's really important for folks to understand, which means by July 1, you need to have your solution, your locally decided and implemented solution up and running and functioning or well on its way. Okay, so I think that's really important for everyone to make sure they've got that solution nailed down. They're in process of implementing. We're going to be tracking that at the state level through our CATS engineers and our operations team. So don't be surprised if we're reaching out, just checking with you to make sure, all right, that everything is moving forward as it should with whatever solution you have chosen. That's got a June 30th deadline. The info blocks initiative or IP services initiative, we're trying to get that completed by July 31st. So for those that haven't went yet, and I'll get to stats in a minute, David, all right, make sure you're working with your CATS engineer. You're on the schedule. That's going extremely well. And we did hit a milestone a week ago. That's really important. And then we've got two big things by August 31st that need to be completed. So item number one, and this one's hard. This one's really hard and everybody's working so hard, but we need to have all aspects of the Rapid Identity Phase 1 implementation completed by August 31st. All right, that's go live, that's claim, that's federate. And there's a really important reason for that we can spend some time on if we need be, but it's because also on August 31st, we're no longer going to be renewing our state-funded purchase of EMS A3, all right, that we implemented a couple of years ago for the Security Baseline Initiative. And what that means is whatever Microsoft licensing that you need to secure of what we've been providing that the new state standard Rapid Identity doesn't cover, you need to pick up, as well as any client access license needs from Microsoft. And just so you'll know, Mike Lettingham and his division, our contract management team, has been working really closely with Team Hazard from Insight and Sterling Bean from Microsoft. And we have a document that they have been working on and they are going to be providing statewide that really helps guide people through a starting point to engage with Team Hazard to address your licensing needs. But all of that work needs to be secured and done by September 1. So that being said, real quick, I'm going to jump over to some status reports, David, that you get every week. And I want to thank Patrick Wofford out there as a project manager and our entire project management team here at OET, who do a tremendous job of reporting and staying on top of the big initiatives we've got. So when we talk about the first leg of Q's, the implementation of Rapid Identity, we've got a lot of progress that we've made, but we've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Long way to go and a short time. It was a song, wasn't it, David? It was. Okay, cool. But as you can see, everybody's in motion right now. Okay, and we know that every district, cohort 4, cohort 5 is working very closely with your enablement team. We know there's a lot of strategies right now because students are gone of how you're going to claim and how you're going to start school. So just stay really tight with your enablement lead to make sure that you've got a really good plan to get all this done by August 31st. But we've got great progress we're making across, claim, across federation, but we got a long way to go. All right, and it's a big push. When you talk about our info blocks implementation, which obviously Volta is a great partner, is helping us get this. We did hit a really, really important number here last week. We now have over 100 districts that have completed that implementation, meaning not only has DNS been transitioned, but DHCP as well. It's going extremely well. We're really, really, really pleased about that. And then last but not least, we are making progress on Active Directory decommissioning. But right now, and this is really a great conversation we had in Region 5 a week ago, okay? That's coming. We've got readiness guides that are going to be coming. We've got more information that's going to be coming out in the fall. Right now, what I need everybody to really, really focus on are those big 4, okay? Let's get our endpoint protection taken care of. Let's get IP services up and running. Let's get Rapid Identity implemented, and let's get our Microsoft licensing secured. And we've got several things that we've still got to take care of at the state level before we can even begin decommissioning the first domain. So we've got time. We've got time. We just need to focus on right now the priorities that are at hand. So, David, I'm gonna throw it back to you. All right, for anything you want to add to that or more discussion needed.
Thank you, Chuck. And like I said, I thought it'd just be good to share that with folks. So just the progress, for me, once we hit that 100 district mark, it's always worth pausing and celebrating as we're, starting to turn around and head down the home stretch. So I appreciate all of our vendor partners, all of our districts, and all of our OET staff, the time and energy you put into this to help get this transition happening. As I've said multiple times, there's nothing in my 35 years that has had more moving parts and more at stake than this. And I think I also say the biggest impact of bringing this all together. So Chuck, thanks for your leadership of this. I saw Tim Sizemore say a nice part of it. I appreciate your leadership over all these years, over these major things.
Hey, we got great people, David. Let me tell you something. Our district customers that are on this phone or on this call today, I mean, they're the ones that are leading it. I do want to, respond real quick. Johnny Step, I see that. We did reach out to the Trellix camp this week. Okay. And we heard back from Wanda. So we're going to make sure that Trellix, for anybody that's choosing Trellix as their endpoint protection solution, that you've got the necessary contacts to make sure they're moving a little bit quicker on some of those things. So we heard that message loud and clear earlier this week. Thank you, John, for that.
And I'll hit upon that just as a good point, is that we're going to be having a closed session that's going to focus on 2 technology items: our virus protection transition, which I'll share some of the numbers of what districts have moved to and have not moved to, along with some recent incidences that have happened in Kentucky districts that I'm sure cyber criminals are targeting other Kentucky districts since they've had success in those. And Chuck, you've had a big win with your Eastbound and Down song. I think you need to start maybe next webcast, sing that for us. And
totally locked in and glued in on this discussion, but now I don't even understand what these references are.
Oh, Marty. Oh, my.
Have you
my.
never watched Smokey and the Bandit, Marty?
Oh yeah, we got no.
That's like not watching Willy Wonka.
No doubt.
Phil Coleman territory. All right, we're gonna have to take Marty out and watch Smokey and the Bandit and take a ride in that Trans Am car.
Sounds neat.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Patrick, and all the folks that are involved with that. Next up, Dee Dee, Connor, we have 2 topics for you to hit upon. One is our data diet that we are in student social security numbers. I can tell you we're aggressively working on in KD, the agency, and have had some great success internally. And we're just trying to make it tougher for cyber criminals to get access to student social security numbers, so they train wreck their credit before they even graduate high school. So we're really trying to make it very hard for them to do that. So Dee Dee?
So yes, thank you, David. High five to the 46 districts that have already done some type of work to remove social security numbers from their system. I think that's great. There are a couple questions on here. We can tell they've done something. We can't tell what they've done from the state level. So if you can kind of provide some information on those questions as far as how far you've gone to remove staff and student social security numbers, that would be great.
Yeah.
We did unfortunately find some additional places where the social security number was in the database. Nothing you would see on the front end, but they were in the database. So we've just released a new tool to allow you to remove those social security numbers also. That's something that you can just pick up to remove on a weekly basis. Lisa Keeter's been driving this and has done a great job. We're looking to do another training on that with our beginning of year training. So stay tuned for that. But that is a new feature that you've probably not seen before if you've looked for it. But do talk to your cases administrator to determine what they're doing. Summer is a great time. We're hoping to see those numbers really pop up a little bit higher as we move into the school year. Can somebody share the results? I think of that. We move on.
They came in the chat, Dee Dee.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see them now. Okay. I wasn't seeing them at first. Okay, and then I want to mention a proactive post-secondary admissions program that was required by House Bill 307. There are some requirements that KDE released data directly to universities, which is new for us. So in order to make that happen, we have to make sure that we align with what FERPA requires, so we have to be recognize what your local directory definition is. We've got to know what students opt in for additional sharing and all of that. So there is going to be some additional data collections in Infinite Campus to support this work. I think there's 5 in total. We're trying to make it as simple as possible. We said we'd come out with by June 30th. We'd come out with some documentation to kind of say what Infinite Campus is going to do. We really hope that we can get some districts to chime in, and some of you have already, and we appreciate that. But we're going to offer through the superintendent message an opportunity to jump in and kind of share some information and get some feedback from them before we finalize everything the following week, hopefully. But that message is we're hoping to go out later this week. So if you're involved at all in forming, in tracking directory notifications, what students have opted out, you might want to be included in that training. That's really the 2 main things I had, David, but I did have a question out there about
Unless those other 2, yeah.
the retention. I'm just going to mention that we're looking at doing some retention training. We've heard districts say they've done that. The district's annual notifications, that kind of aligns with our House Bill 307 tracking. So just getting some information on how those are supplied, whether they go out by in the students' package every year, or if you actually have them on your website. And I think the Department of Education promotes that the best practice is to have them on their website, but we know we can't find them always, so they may or may not be out there. The only thing I wanted to mention just before I close up is one last reminder: campus learning online registration. If you've missed all of our discussions about this before, reach out to me. If you're, KDE is no longer paying for it. So if it was not on your annual invoice and you're not paying for it, you're not going to have access to it on as of July 1. So don't let that be a surprise to you. All right.
Do we have the data retention one on there? The records retention training?
I mentioned that we were looking at doing that training, but there was a question.
Because I remember seeing the question
I don't know if it's been
this morning.
Yeah, I'll go back. I'll look for that question. I'm not, and if Lisa sees it, then
yeah,
I'm not showing it.
Yeah. This is
it really was just a question to see how much interest there would be at the district level. We get people asking for this, but how big the interest is, and we are looking to get the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives to be involved in this training for district retention.
There it is.
Okay.
So please take a look, see if you'd be interested in that type of thing, making it available. There's 2 tendencies with record retention. Some is I'm going to store everything just in case there was something that needed to be in there. And then you just have warehouses. I know in the paperwork, you just have warehouses full, where probably 95% of that could have been eliminated versus just grabbing everything and making it in there. So I think you try to be a little more strategic on, first of all, understanding what really requires record retention, but under a certain time, what does not, and just really try to save those specific things. And that comes into play. We see a lot with email. You see it with paper of any type. People just keeping a bunch of stuff that don't need to be kept. Okay. Thank you, Dee Dee. Next up is a success story that it doesn't make the news because typically good things like that would not make it. But there was a major outage that you all were not aware of because we have redundancy in our internet service. And a lot of these happen with people digging. They're putting new stuff in, and somehow they're not aware of the communication lines are there and some other things there. So maybe Matt's out, but Brian, is Brian or Matt available, or someone to talk about that?
I'm here. Matt, unfortunately, couldn't join us today.
Okay.
Yeah. So as we've discussed and shared before, one of the key things that we have with this new network is redundancy for our districts. So if we have an outage, the districts can switch over, and you don't feel that impact at the school or district level. And we've had a couple situations over the last couple years, but this one was a major one. Zayo lost an entire pathway for 7 to 9 days of the total outage due to construction. And if you've been up through 71, 75 up in Cincinnati, you've driven through this wonderful mess over the last year. And the construction up there took out a fiber band of over 2,300 splices. And so they were down for 7 to 8 days. And luckily, because we had the other pathways, all traffic flowed over. You all didn't see any outages or issues like that. And we just wanted to, point that out and celebrate the fact that the new system is working. We didn't have major outage time or downtime, or didn't even see a lot of packet drops or resiliency issues either. And it was kind of unknown to everyone. So we wanted to bring that up as, a major milestone in the fact that everything shifted. We didn't have to send out major notifications, and it didn't really impact anyone at the district level.
Thanks, Brian. And the construction you're talking about is not anything to do with the internet construction, and it's road construction, bridge construction. Correct. And, just somehow, and that, I would say across any kind of outages we have, besides when you have a natural disaster, it's someone digging for a road, and somehow they didn't look at the map or do the proper things to make sure there's something there, and they cut right into it. And this one was a major one that they cut in. So thank goodness that we had the redundancy, and appreciate our great partnership with Zayo and all the subcontractors that work with them to make that happen, and all of our team that works with them as too.
David, we may have folks who are relatively new and coming on board. This is the time of year when our new EdTech leaders start to get introduced. But I think one of the call outs here, we've had experiences in the past with major construction, and we've had multiple districts without internet access for a period of time. Thankfully, it's not been extended, but for us, like, just to again, the word Brian used was celebrate. And these are designs that you hope are tested, and they're proven tested. But then when you actually need them, that they work as pitched and as designed is awesome. So we just feel really good about that.
Yep. Thank you. Just a reminder that our focus next month will be on the KETS operational budget, which, for those that are new, we do that annually as required by 1990 Education Reform Act law, which is a good thing. It gives us a chance to educate the board, and education technologists always look forward to that. Educating our Kentucky Board of Education. Been doing that for 3.5 decades, so it's always a good type of thing. But we always want to make sure you're all aware of what we're getting ready to present to them. And obviously, we've had some changes in the budget of things that we previously paid for on behalf of districts, but did not get the additional budget request to keep on doing those. So, for example, online registration through Infinite Campus is one of those major items that not only is the cost transitioning to districts, you'll be paying 50 to 60% more because we no longer have the buying power of the entire state to drive down costs. So I'll be reminding the board of that in August to make sure that stays as one of their top funding priorities going into a future legislative session, which will be in 2 years, to make the top 5 as well. Maybe we'll have better luck in getting that funded going forward. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Also, I think since May, we've been reminding you of the cybersecurity health check. You do not have to wait until August to have that done, but it is a law that you do a cybersecurity health check with your superintendent and your board. I once again look at those as positive types of things, a way to, in a very safe setting, a constructive setting, educate your board on the things that you're putting in place, the things that aren't in place, and the appropriate risk of not having those things in place. So I know for us, Bob, we do that for our Kentucky Board of Education and our commissioners. So we educate them just not on K, the agency, but we educate them on all school districts. We take that opportunity to do that. So it's a good thing. So just a reminder, and it was in our summary notes last month as well to talk about that. So this is a part, I don't think we have anything else remaining that's in the, I call the open session. We will be, when we finish this, let's say, Brian, you got something else you want to
Yeah,
share?
David, I did forget to mention one thing to give everybody a heads up, and we'll have an email going out over the next week through the KEs. But in July, we are doing firewall upgrades. They're minor firewall upgrades, but we'll be sending out schedules, and Zayo will be moving all the firewalls to the most current software security patches to make sure we're updated and covered. So be on the lookout for that.
Thought I saw that somewhere in our previous notes. Was that already sent someplace? Seems like I saw that. But just could remind them again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks. Anything else that we have? I'll take a look at our chats before we enter closed session.
Chats are good.
Chats are all good. So for our KD Media Portal folks, we will be turning that off, and that's our general, anybody in the world can watch that. And one of the reasons we're turning that off is anyone in the world can watch that. And then, so when we go to the closed session, we don't record that either, because we don't want that to be viewed by some of the bad actors of the things we'll be talking about cybersecurity wise. So typically these closed sessions are about cybersecurity. And given this avalanche of attacks that we're getting in K-12 and also attacking the elderly, is and the most vulnerable that we have, is we put that in a closed session. And so it's that's not 100% protection either. But I do appreciate those that have joined us for our open session. And Megan and team, if you could go ahead and sign us off of that, I'll say goodbye to them, and then we'll move to the closed session. And then when we do that, we will stop the recording for the teams as well. I mean, we'll keep doing Microsoft Teams, and we'll just stop the recording of that as well. So thanks for joining us, for those that could, for this first hour, and we'll be hitting on the closed session issues that have a sense of urgency to them. So thanks again.